In this video, we're going to bleed the brakes of the Morris Mini using this new kit I've got. Alright, let's just take a look at what we've got inside here. So I'll just get all the parts out and you can see exactly what we've got. Okay, so the way you set this particular kit up, you've got the option of using this bottle. Now this bottle, actually, you can fill that up with brake fluid, and then that sits into the brake fluid reservoir. And then once you've got that sitting in there, there's a few different attachments. Depending on the size of the hole on your brake fluid filler. In a classic Mini, I'm guessing the smallest one would be the one to go. So that attachment needs to be fitted onto there. And then once that's fitted in, you of course fill this up with brake fluid, insert that into your the filler, oil filler, and then turn on the tap. And then brake fluid is only going to come out of here and fill up the actual the cylinder if the level drops. So that will happen when you're bleeding the brakes. So that's the first part. The next part is the main assembly here. So we'll take a look at that. So of course that end there connects onto your bleeder valve on your brakes, and then the rest of it, you pretty much just screw that container onto it. And then the way you operate this, it does require an air compressor and an air line. So I'll have to put some plumbing tape on that piece. That screws into there. And then connect your air hose to that. And then when you press down on your trigger, air is going to run through the system. It pressurizes this container, creates a vacuum, and then it draws fluid out of your the bleeder valve on your brake. Okay, so I've got just a spare brake cylinder here. I'll just sort of show you how this is meant to get set up. So you screw that piece on the end, and then you would stick that into there. Of course, even the smallest fitting doesn't fit into the Mini's brake canister. So the way this actually works is fluid's only going to come out of here if the level of the fluid in here drops below the opening here. So even if I don't have that attachment fitting, as long as it's not going to fall over and as long as it stays upright, it'll still work, and it will just prevent this the brake cylinder from running completely empty. So that's the whole purpose of using this. Okay, so we'll get started by filling up the filler canister with some brake fluid. So I'm using .4 brake fluid. And what I'll do, I'll just test this to make sure it works. Okay, so I've used some cable ties up here just to hold that. So that's as far as I can get it in because these pipes are in the way. But that tap is on now, so it's not gurgling and it's not overflowing or anything. So it's only going to fill up if it needs to. Okay, so bleeding the brakes, the process is you do the wheel which is furthest away from the master cylinder. So doing this, the rear left brake. So let me just position myself down on the ground. Alright, so what we need to do is, if I just bring you a little bit closer so you can see, this is probably the worst side because I've got the exhaust in the way, but you can see the bleeder valve right there. What needs to be done is we need to loosen that just a bit, just so I'm not struggling to do that with the hose in the way. So the first step is to plug this end onto there. Then I'll just bring you out a bit so you can see here. Then the next step obviously is to connect the air hose onto here. I might have to fire up this compressor, I don't have enough air pressure in that. Okay, so now I've got a bit more air pressure. I'll just plug that onto there. And you'll hear here, once I pull down on the trigger, you'll hear the air running through it, and that's generating a vacuum in the chamber, and then of course going to start drawing the fluid. So what I need to do now is just loosen the nut. Okay, here we go. So you can see the fluid draining out now. I might just need to loosen this a little bit more. Okay, so it's hard to know whether any of the air is actually just coming out of this fitting or whether a lot of that actually was air in the brake lines. I'm guessing most of that was probably just this fitting because it's not perfectly tight. Okay, so that one's done. I'll just wipe off that excess fluid, and then I'm going to move on to the right hand side, and it's just the same process. Okay, so let's get started on the right hand side rear. I've left the camera sort of here so you can sort of see what happens here. So I'm just going to loosen up that bleeder valve and then connect that hose onto it. And we're ready to go again. Alright, so still getting a lot of air bubbles come through that, but I do reckon it's just this thing that's actually drawing in air as well as just fluid. I'll just have a check up on the filling reservoir. Yep, that still looks like it's doing what it needs to do. Alright, so I'm going to get started on the front now. Alright, so this is the front. These are newer reproduction disc brakes on there. So they're reproduction disc brakes. So the bleeder on that is actually an 11 mil spanner, which I think is what, a quarter, half inch. Alright, let's get that on there. Okay. Alright, I might just need to loosen that a little bit more. Trying to get the light so you can see, and also this hose keeps knocking over the camera, being annoying. Okay, so the fluid's starting to drain out on its own, so let me just give it some suction. Yeah, I still reckon a lot of these bubbles are just coming from out of here because it's not a perfect fit. I'll just make sure. Don't want to get any of this brake fluid on the paintwork. Alright, just put that cap back on it. And then we'll try the last wheel now. Okay, last one. Probably someone will say in the comments, you're doing it wrong. You need to have the canister at a level which is lower down, so the hose isn't like, it's not that it's kinked, but it runs directly from here down. But it kind of does, but okay, that's off. Alright, so I'll just loosen it a bit first, just without that hose on there, just so it's not in the way. Because I reckon that itself doesn't make a perfect seal. I'm just going to take this glove off because it's too hard to do with that on. Okay, so it's starting to drain on its own now. Yeah, one of my other videos I had someone comment saying all you need to do is gravity bleed. So that's what's happening right here. But in this case here, it's not really flowing much at all. Okay, so that's all the four wheels done. We just need to take this out now. I can recover that cable tie afterwards. Alright, I'm going to take it for a test drive in a moment just to see how it goes. That's a fluid that came out. That's pretty dirty. Considering all of those brake lines are new, everything was redone. That brake booster was overhauled. The only thing that was old is that actual cylinder, the master cylinder. So it wasn't spot on perfect, so maybe there's a lot of contamination in that still. Or it might have been the actual brake lines. Alright, so I'll take it for a run and see how it goes. Okay, so I'm just took it for a test run. I went to the supermarket and just stocked up on some groceries. It's a good amount of storage here, if you don't have any passengers. Anyway, that the flushing the brakes seemed to make the brake booster work a lot better. The brakes are actually a lot better. They're not as spongy. I don't have to keep pressing them multiple times to pump them. They comes to a stop straight away without any issues and dramas. So bleeding them got rid of the air, any air that was in the lines. So it's made a big difference. Alright, I'll leave it there, and thanks for watching my videos.